Good evening, GGL. Welcome to another edition of the Mac Halloween edition. Nicely done there, Mac. Getting a little festive as we
Trying a little bit.
get rolling into Halloween week. But yeah, got a jam-packed show. Got a guest on. Got some bust steals to look at. So a recap a really important week 7. So let's jump right into it.
Yeah. All right. First game up, Logan versus Carter. What are your thoughts on this first?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. We kind of have been talking about on this show, and we got some flack about how his team was not very good, and he has dropped now another game. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that his team lacked depth, and it's starting to rear its ugly head as injuries and buys come in. On the other hand, Logan, another big win for him. Seth is just showing that he drafted a great team, and Logan has trades to improve that team. And yeah, big win for Logan. What thoughts?
Well, I took a little deeper dive into old Carter's team after last week. I'm sitting here trying to. I thought I liked his team there for a little bit, and then I really wasn't taking a look at his bench, and it is bad. I think he's got what do we got? Got 4 running backs just sitting on his bench. 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers sitting on his bench, and everyone, besides Goddard was on a bye, but besides that, 0 points, basically. It just doesn't look good.
And I did not include Derek Carr on my bust list, but now that I'm looking at numbers, I mean, it's been bad. 17, 22, 25, 11, 23, and 15. Those per week. He's ranked currently as quarterback 17. And although Carter has not physically killed Derek Carr like he likes to do to his quarterbacks in years past, he seems like he's killed the preseason buzz that was MVP Derek Carr. I think there were some people that thought he was going to have a breakout year. So, yeah, unless Derek Carr can pull it out or Carter makes a bunch of good moves, he might be looking in. And then on the flip side, Geno Smith and the rest of Logan's team has kind of come out and had a strong start to the season. So DeAndre Hopkins was felt right away. So yeah, I think Logan's in one of the driver's seats in the East Division.
I think so too, but also I looked a little deeper into his upcoming schedule. Looks like week 11 is going to be really tough for him. He's playing Josiah, but he's also got Geno Smith on a bye, Trevor Lawrence on a bye, Tyreek Hill on a bye, Leonard Fournette on a bye, and Mike Evans all on a bye for week 11. So in 2 weeks, it's going to be a tough that's going to be a tough little matchup there.
And that could be for them seed as Josiah and Walt and Logan are the top 3 teams in the East. That could decide some buys there. So that'll be interesting as we move.
Yeah. Next game up. Oh, go back one. Jet into the Realm versus Eddie here. Walterbach. I don't know. I get it. I understand the buys.
Yeah.
I understand the buys. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough, but we got through the week.
Well,
unfortunately, a big loss to Eddie here. 64 to 93. Another strong East game. So the East is looking very strong. It's missing a lot of key people, but the upside, basically all of his buys have passed, so he does have a little reprieve there. So he should be looking a little bit better.
Yep.
Moving forward.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this weekend when I was with Walt, and Justin, of course, disagreed. That is probably why he's 1-5 or whatever the hell his record is. But Walt, that in some ways, it's not a bad strategy to have all your buys happen on the same week. You lose one week, but then you have the advantage over the rest of the. I don't think we'll purposely drafted that way. I had a few guys on the same team that had the same buy. So you look at Walt and you say, well, he lost this week. But another way, you mentioned someone like have some buys coming up. On the flip side, Walt is going to have his strongest line handful of weeks. So I think that's a pretty big advantage. So that plays out. But I am interested to see if Walt can take advantage of the next few weeks here as he fights for that top seed in the East.
Yeah, it is not a bad, like you said. I don't know if he planned it that way, but we'll ask him here in a second.
Yeah.
But besides that, no, I think that worked out really well. Unfortunately, Eddie, Matt Ryan's going down.
Yeah.
Bad.
Shot of his lineup in the group chat for this week, and it's rough, but Eddie had to get this win. I don't think he's many aspirations for offs. I don't think that's going to happen, but he is just trying to keep between himself and Justin and Kyle for the show. So he needed the win. He got the win, and he kind of the advantage of having Walt on buys to get a much needed win. So
Absolutely. Moving on to the next one here. Me versus Kyle. There's not much to say. I had some guys out on buy. Kyle, it's tough. It's not looking good, but I did get some questions from him or some trade offers this morning from him. So he is looking to better his team right now. So I'm looking forward to that because right now he's got Andy Dalton and Jared Goff as his two quarterbacks, really to rely on for his second spot without Dak. But I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about Kyle's team in a second, but I'll start with you. Obviously, with a big win, you had some of your key guys finally kind of step up, and you got to win, which keeps you firmly out of the shadow realm and moves you into a spot where you're fighting for that third or maybe even second, the West. So big win for you, and I think you're hoping Aaron Rodgers finally figures it out, because if he does, I think your team, could do some nice things with some of the depth you have at other positions. Now, on to Kyle, I know he's had a lot of injuries, but as I was going through the busts and the steals of the draft, I know Kyle's had some injury luck, but looking at his draft, I think there's a little bit of mismanage going on. He drafted Deebo Samuel overall pick, traded him away. And I think Deebo is a good enough player to, you could view that as kind of tough. He gets Dak Prescott, second round pick. His third round pick was Barkley, really good pick. Round pick was Trey Lance, obviously injury, but also a risky pick with a safer quarterback, and obviously you can't predict injuries. And then his fifth round pick, Marquise Brown. Again, that control injury, so that's a very tough one. But he also got the benefit from Brown of having out. But really where it gets interesting is I'm going to go a little bit further down. Kyle drafted Walker from the Seahawks. He just would have held on to him and obviously fault of the carries early on, but Kyle could have had him he could have had Barkley if Hall was healthy and was the same team. So I did think that was interesting. And he also drafted James Robinson, which I don't know if he did it or how that happened. But again, they're a really good running back that's now going to the Jets. So if Kyle would have we've talked about this a little bit, is sometimes making it just to make a trade can hurt you. Now he's in a spot where he has to trade. But he wants to go look down the draft history of this year. You look at Kyle's draft, he had a really, really solid draft in some trades and some unfortunate drops have put him in this spot. So, as much as the draft matters, it also can change. Tough one for Kyle, but like I said, if anybody's interested, go look at Kyle's Treffley on paper. Had one of the better drafts you'll see.
And you can see it too. I just updated our projection board here, and from where we drafted to where we were, he was up there. But also him having Hall go down is definitely a little game changer there for him now, trying to scramble for a second running back.
Yep.
It's going to
Well,
be pretty tough there.
If he would have kept James Robinson, I don't think he has James Robinson anymore, right?
I don't think he does either, no.
Yeah, he doesn't. So
next game up. Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. But next game up, the Moose Man versus Teddy. This was a good game.
Yeah, another Monday night. I wouldn't really call it a miracle, but another Monday night come from behind win. Justin Fields did enough, and the Bears defense was kind of a little nervous that they would actually go maybe not negative, but they would get enough points where Fields was going to have to. But thankfully, they did their and made the Patriots look pretty bad. But yeah, I did not perform very well this week. Lucky to find a way to get a win. I'll take it. I'll run with it. Very happy to be 4-3. I don't think my team has all played their best. On the flip side, Teddy, again, he found a way to 4-2, and he had a good team, I should say. But we kind of talked about it last week. His team wasn't scoring a whole lot of points, and caught up to him this week. So he's in a spot where then Hurts off a bye. That should help. But Teddy, not a big guy, but it'll be very interesting to see. He's been very active in the waiver, but not the trades. So maybe he'll start to maybe try to make a move because he's kind of in need for a vamp from his roster. But I will say Christian McCaffrey, you got to expect him to be in 5 points moving forward. And then Keenan Allen, the injury, if he can, I think there's some visions for Teddy moving forward. But he also, last thing I'll say about Teddy, he rosters backs from the same team. Christian McCaffrey now, he has Will Jr. and he has Elijah Mitchell. So roster construction wise, he might have those two guys as a handcuff, but or hell, I mean, maybe even you play two of them if you absolutely have to. But yeah, that'll be interesting moving forward there.
Yeah, kind of see how old Kyle's going to handle that, having Christian McCaffrey coming in.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I was going to say was about Keenan Allen. Having him back is going to really, I think, try to up it there. It's going to actually get Justin Herbert probably some more points, luckily for Eddie. But I think that's going to be a nice little addition there.
Yeah, we say it's a wide, or at least some do it. And, Ayuk actually pretty good. Deontay Johnson's been average at best, but Keenan Allen's kind of the guy that Teddy drafted to be his number one. So, yeah, Teddy's been able to find a way. He's still sitting pretty in the West. So hopefully, or for him, if he gets a healthy team, he'll get the ship back going the right way. So,
yeah. Next up, Josiah versus Justin. The best game of the week. Just a dominant performance by both of the teams there.
But yeah, Josiah's team's scary, I'm not going to lie, because of Joey Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. Like when those two guys are playing, I mean, he got 51 points out of Burrow and Mahomes, and really you can count on maybe not that high of production, but you can count on close to 70 to 80 points out of those two players right playing. And then Nick Chubb is I believe I was again looking at some things. To believe Nick Chubb is the highest point scorer and quarterback right now in our league based on our league settings. So he then has two of the top quarterbacks and the top overall player for most points this year. He's just got to find out. He's got to find receivers. If he does, he is a scary, scary player moving forward with those two quarterbacks. And he does have Michael Thomas, who can't stay healthy. So healthy, he could do some things with that.
He's got Robbie Anderson banging.
Yep.
He's got Robbie Anderson banging hookers in the parking lot.
Yep. Hunter Renfrow. Yeah, I mean his receivers are what will hold them back if something does happen as far as not. I mean, I think he's going to make the playoffs. He's going to be a top seed in the West, or excuse me, the East. On the flip side, I gotta say Justin is just decided, I guess, to just bunker in, hold pat, not make any trades, and he's gonna get shell around. I know he scored 139 points, but that's the key is he scored 139 points because he was forced to actually play someone other than Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford. He played Daniel Jones, who gets 32 points, and again, he can say, I'm not someone you want to trade with, but I texted him last week, what do you want for Matthew Stafford? And he just did. So if he would have responded, I would have given him Justin Fields, maybe a wide receiver who he could have played over Courtland Sutton, and who knows. But is in a very tough spot moving forward. Obviously,
well, he also decided to bench Judy and instead start two. He had two Denver wide receivers, and now he switched to two Kansas City wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it worked out for him. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad. I would rather have Patrick Mahomes throwing my two receivers the ball than Russell Wilson or whoever it is right now. Is it Ripon or whatever his name is?
He's also rostering two defenses. That makes the defense he's holding on to is the Rams defense, which is ranked as the 17th ranked defense in fantasy football in our league. They're averaging 7.2 points. So I guess he figured he couldn't drop that elite defense. So his roster doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. He's rostering two tight ends. I don't know. I just praying for you, Justin. I know you're fighting it hard right now with the Shadow Realm coming, but man, I hope you can figure something out. But we'll see.
I did see too on Josiah for week 9. He has Chubb, Zeke, and Chase Claypool, who's really not even been anything there, but they're all going to be on a bye for next week. So that's going to be hopefully Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow can throw for so many yards because it's going to be tough. And then our game of the week that we picked was Mitchell versus Bill.
Close one.
I kind of like that. Yeah, I like that was the pick of the week. Unfortunately for Bill, he did go down. But just another barn burner here. A great game of the week.
Yeah.
Somehow Mitchell did it without setting his lineup.
Yeah, Mitchell is got some weird juju going on over there. Doing some really things with his quarterback. I don't get why he's decided to make I end up playing, but I don't know why he decided to keep as his quarterback. But man, he has Walker, and that guy looks like the real deal. So I think that with the fact that he's got Corral Penn back, he's got two pretty strong running backs. He has to figure out his quarterback position. Maybe he'll make a trade. I don't think in this type of style of league, although Mitchell's rolling, I don't think someone that has G, Winston, and Russellson as their three quarters can win the league. I mean, it's going to be tough when you go up against. Yeah,
and especially in a 2-quarterback league, it's really really hard. But somehow he's doing it. I guess the competition he's playing is playing down to his. To his.
What about Bill?
To his strengths, I guess. Bill, I don't know.
Looking at his team,
I don't know about Bill.
He has ETN, who's gonna would assume obviously get a little bit of a bump with James Robinson not being on that team anymore. Jonathan Taylor at some point you'd hope would get better, but again, Bill's another one. Bill had texted me last week, and I said we were talking about trades, and I said I will give you Justin Fields for Chris Godwin straight up. Or actually, no, sorry, he suggested that. And I said, let me think about it. Woke up and I said, okay, I'll do it. So I offered him to trade Godwin for Fields, texted him, hey, I just you that trade, and then no response. So, he could have had, instead of having to speak, he would have started Fields and he would have won this matchup. And again, we talk about how important quarterbacks are, pick up Deshaun Watson, but Bill's not off if he has to start Tua in the next 3 or 4 weeks because Tua's come back down to earth. So again, it's a league where quarterbacks are important. So I think Bill's going to have something out for his second because Tua is no longer one of those guys that could be Joey Burrow or Mahomes or Josh Allen and get 40 plus on a consistent basis. So I definitely think Bill needs to address the quarterback position.
Well, yeah, it's going to be he's literally going to transfer out one Cleveland quarterback for another, one who hasn't played football in 3.5 years.
Yep.
So it's just, I mean, and it's not like obviously the running game in Cleveland's pretty good, but besides that, he's coming into Amari Cooper being his number one. It's just not going to be hopefully he uses Njoku so he has to come back first, but that would help
Yep.
out a lot. But I don't think Jonathan Taylor's what he used to be, what he was for Bill last year when he rode him to the fucking playoffs, everything like that. I don't see it, and his wide receivers just aren't doing it.
Agreed.
And so now we're going into some standings. It's looking pretty even here. Looks like the West might be a little bit better.
Yeah. There's basically, I would say there's 5 teams in the West playoffs. And then in the East, there's really 3, maybe. I guess you could say 4 if you include Carter. We've already talked about his team. So the some better, the top 3 teams might be more defined, I guess, but is deeper right now. Things can change in a hurry, but the way I see it, Walter Bach and Logan are going to be fighting for that number 1, and then in our division, I would say everyone but Kyle is going to be trying to make a run here at the postseason, and it'll be interesting as we move forward. And things
just one game
can change quickly. I think worth maybe in 5th place, like 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. I found a way to get up there in one game behind Mitchell, who I played this. So fun few weeks here as we are now in the second. I think there's 4 in the regular season, so we are now in the second half of the regular season, and it's going to be an intense race as we get closer and closer to week.
Yeah, one game is really going to decide the West. I mean, one game at a time. So like I have Teddy next week or this week, and so moves me to 4-4. If you beat Mitchell, you guys are going to be going in tied there. So it's going to be a really tight race there.
In the last standings is obviously looking at Justin and Kyle. They're in a spot now where Kyle and or Justin, one of those 2 teams goes like on a 2-game winning streak, 3 out of 4. If one of those 2 teams does that, the other team themselves and going to get shelled around, and we've never had that. So it'll be interesting how that transpires, because in years 2, even 3, 4, and you could even say maybe 5 teams that realistically coming down to the last 4 weeks couldn't shut around. This year, it's going to be different. I think there's going to be one of those 2 teams, both of those 2 teams, that will be kind of on their own. And said if Kyle can win 3 or 4 games, I don't think Justin can match that. So I guess we'll see, or it could flip on its head, and Justin had a big week last week. Maybe he wins 2 or 3 games, but it could be the first year in Shadow Realm history where there's one obvious guy going to the Shadow Realm, and who knows? We've never had that. I'm scared. Will that guy, cut off all communication? Will he drop all his players? Will he, it'll be something that I'm sure our committee has so many plans in place for what could happen, and I'm sure they'll handle it flawlessly. But we will see.
I'm so sure that they have a plan in place for this,
Yeah.
and what kind of punishment would come with it. I'm pretty sure they probably have that.
Yep.
Then I was just gonna go into the finals standing projections here.
Mhm.
I will say now that I was looking at it earlier today, the w- the West is popping up. If you look, we don't have a lot of. I mean, besides Kyle, who again I was telling you, was ranked third when
Yeah.
or fourth when he first drafted his
Mhm.
team, and now he dropped all the way down to 12th. So that's tough. But besides that, we have a lot of people moving in the right direction, while the East is going down. You'll notice a lot of red in those areas.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I'm sure they just politely decided to not look at that. Right, and I did look at the East versus West. I think we've played each other like 2 or 3 weeks, and I went through every matchup. We're 500 against the East versus the West, so like right down the line. So it's very even, and I know that they have some that have more points for, but I do think we're deeper. But I guess we'll see as we get closer to postseason.
All right. And so, did you want to? You had a little segment here.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right.
What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of go over now that we're halfway through the regular season, kind of go busts and some steals of the draft. Now, before I get into it, there's a few things that I kind of made because I mean, you could make a list of 20 players for each. So in order to kind of more just a more organized list, all these players for the busts had to be drafted in the top 5 rounds to be considered. They had to still be on the team in which they were drafted. So if the guy did them or dropped them or anything like that, they didn't qualify. And then if the player got hurt, I didn't, if like Keenan example, has been hurt the whole year, I got as a bust because he's been hurt. So yeah, we'll get busts. And the first player that I had on my list went in order of the first round to the second round, and then all the way down to the fifth, is Tom, drafted by Justin as the second overall, first overall round. He is currently ranked as quarterback 11, which is not but he drafted, I think, is the fifth quarterback taken off the board, maybe the fourth quarterback. He was taken Lamar Jackson, and he's a huge reason why Justin, unfortunately, is only got one win. So my first bust is Tom Brady. Sorry, Mac, but you're going to make the list here next, and it happened right after Tom Brady, and it's pretty much the same story. It's Rodgers. Rodgers is even ranked lower than Tom Brady as far as per game. Again, I did Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was still on the board, and it's tough, but I think you would agree. Aaron Rodgers is a reason probably why you're one game rather than being 2 or 3 over. But he could
Absolutely.
still. Yeah. What's that?
I said absolutely.
Um,
If he had 1 week, I think he put up 11 points.
yeah, I'm looking at it now. He's averaging 16 points a game. When you take a quarterback in the top 2 rounds, you're obviously hoping for 20 plus a game. My next bust is going to be Brandon Cooks. He was taken by in the 5th round. And what you'll notice about players is, in my opinion, sometimes you can say players kind of or owners reach on them, and Brandon Cooks fits that bill 100%. He took him, I mean, I would say 3 rounds before anybody else probably would have taken him. I have no idea why he wanted to take him in the 5th round, but he did. He took Brandon Cooks, Mike Williams, who's a top 5, 10 for sure, close top 5 receiver, and he took him even before someone like Amari Cooper, who's I think 10th overall. And again, Cooks comes in as ranked as the 55th receiver. If you look at game per games totals, it's 8, 5, 11, 2, 4. So tough bust there for Eddie. And then along my last bust is DJ Moore. I took DJ Moore like 2 spots before Eddie in the 5th round. DJ 44th as a receiver. Almost unstartable for some weeks. Obviously, the Panthers' offense has been terrible. Now, he bore a touchdown last week, so maybe things. But yeah, DJ Moore is a pick that again I could have had Amari Cooper, Mike Williams. So those are my busts. Now, a few guys that didn't make the list because they have been traded or hurt. I have another one, Cam Akers. I took Cam Akers like in the 3rd or 4th round. True bust. So that's another guy that comes to mind. Guys that Bill took. Bill took Najee Harris in the 2nd round. Better, but again, I think Bill could have agreed that he's not lived up to that draft hype. Bill shook them off and qualify anymore. Those were my busts. As far as my steal of the draft, similar things had to be in place. The player still had to be on the team, couldn't have dropped or traded. And then the other thing is the had to be drafted past the 6th round because there were some really good steals like in the first 3 or 4. Jacobs, I believe, right? Yeah, Josh Jacobs. I mean, I think he was in the 4th round. That was a great pick. Obviously, comes to mind that's a steal that's helped Logan tremendously is Geno Smith, but Logan did not draft. Not draft Geno Smith. Again, those type of players have been, but they were not in the looked at, which needed to be drafted by the player and still be on the team and drafted. So the first steal I had was Chris Olave, drafted by UMac. He ranks as the 16th receiver, and you got him in the 10th round. So obviously, tons of value there. And he's up to that rookie hype. Drafted in the 11th round. My next was Stevenson, running back for the Patriots, drafted by Logan in the 11th round. Like I said, he's currently running back 8. So obviously, that's a ton of value to get. And then my last steal, Ayers, running back for the Texans in the 13th round. A lot of kickers went before Pierce. Let's put it that way. And he currently ranks as RB12, and that includes weeks where he wasn't the guy quite yet. He was carries, but he wasn't bulk of the touches or all the touches, I should say, like he is now. So those were kind of my busts. It's always fun to look back at the draft and go. There's a lot of players that could fit this category, but all traded. Obviously, good on those owners that traded away their busts to other people. But like I said, the draft for Kyle could have been who I think is a top 10 running back on a game basis of games they started, so to speak. But Kyle got rid of him. And yeah, it's always fun to look back at the and reminisce.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's what I was gonna say too. Would be Chris Olave for me, but he has ridden the pine most of the year for me, except for this past week, and he did give me some points. But yeah, he probably should be starting over T. Higgins, to be honest with you.
I mean, a lot of those steals give your team depth, and I know it's going to just continue to show the teams drafted and have the right type of players, because as we head into bye weeks, into these injuries, the teams that can still find a way to win those ugly, 91 to 87, those are the ugly ones that you look back at the standings from the previous year, and that's a playoff team and it's your first round. And on some end, it's what avoids the shallow round in these long losing streaks. So yeah, Would love to know if anybody thinks I missed a steal. Send that to the group. After, I'd love to. I'm sure I missed a few, and we can always talk about those.
All right, so now your lock of the week.
Yeah, the lock lost by a lot. Packers did not only not cover, they lost the game. So I'm back to 3-3 on the year. Serves a Bears fan for trusting Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But gonna jump right back on us. In my opinion, in need of a win, and that's the Rams. They're getting 1.5 at home. Love this. Coming off a bye. McVay's a very, very good coach. I mean, Shanahan is too, but McVay coming off. Matthew Stafford's been injured at least that's what the reports are saying. So an extra week to rest. They will be fired up in a game that they win. So
we're getting Van Jefferson back too.
Yeah. And I know there's not a huge home field advantage, but they get to sleep in their own bed. They get coming off a bye,
kind of breaking up a little bit,
playing at home. Absolutely. Rams plus 1.5. I don't know what the line currently, but this is what it was last week. Yesterday. So
breaking up just a little bit. We'll with that we'll bring on our guest, Mr. Andrew Walterbach.
What's up? Happy to be here.
Walt.
What's up, Walt?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh no, you're breaking up a little bit too.
Am I breaking everything?
You sound good on my end, Walt.
Is Mac just too high after his pizza or something, or what? Oh, yeah, we lost him. I don't know how that's going to work out if he's the host and can't get back in.
We'll be able to make it work. So, Walt, as you're kind of the conversation that Mac and I were having, but let's start out with kind of the bye week that you had last week. Strategy that you drafted or just kind of fell into, and I'm sure it feels pretty good that you in a spot where you basically have a full roster for these next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely not intentional. I'm kind of one of the guys that kind of thinks you're an idiot for doing that, but like after having it, it was so nice. But it wasn't intentional. I think what kind of happened was I did some trades with Kyle that I got some guys were all week. Was it week 7 last week? So yeah. I basically picked up players through like waiver wire trade, whatever it was, and like it kind of just put me in that circumstance. Like I was always going to have Minnesota and the Rams the same week, so I was always going to have Dalvin, Kupp, and Cousins out. But then I obviously have Henderson now and a few other guys that kind of all added to that. Devontae Smith I got from Kyle as well. So it just kind of happened to go that way. So like now, like Travis Kelce is my only top 6 player that has a bye, and it's this week. So I'm playing Logan, who's I think better than I think he's probably got the best team in the East right now. And I'm still only like 5 or 6 points behind on like projections. So I'm happy with that. And then like you guys mentioned as well, buys are going to start to hit teams pretty hard in the next couple of weeks. Like 2 weeks from now, I have Josiah, who he's got a ton of Cowboys out. So it's going to just help me a lot. Nick Chubb's out. So like he's got Chubb, Zeke, Pollard, Chase Claypool, like 4 guys that he would play that aren't going to be in there, which is going to help me, which is nice. And then obviously I'm sure I have other nice matchups to come as a result too, but
absolutely. So I guess obviously you're in a spot. It seems like the playoffs are definitely on the horizon. 2-part question. Number 1, is there a team in the West? I know there's a lot of first West back in Smack Talk. One, is there a team in the West who are most, I guess, not afraid, but would be your best competitor to make it to the championship. And on the flip side, the East seems like it's down to you, Josiah. And is that how you see it, or do you think there's a chance that Eddie could make a run and sneak into the offs for the East?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's crazy to see the past few weeks is, like, obviously, I mean, Lamar went off for 27, 55, 48, and then he's really just been like an average guy there on out, which for Carter, like, he needs to have 25 plus point games for him to be competitive. Like, he's 14 versus Buffalo, 15 versus Cincy, 17 versus the Giants, 9 versus the Browns. I think Carter said it too. It's like, I can't lose. The Browns can't lose a week, and Lamar only scores 9 points when they play each other. Like, that just has to like be so demoralizing. So, and like you were talking about bust and like steals of the draft, and like anybody who was on Denver and anybody who was on Pittsburgh is just like what the hell is going on? Like, those are usually like teams you can count on 1 or 2 top guys being like super productive, but like Najee Harris, horrendous. Like, all 3 of those wide receivers and Steelers, like, I wouldn't trust playing any single one of them. Like, they're all just super inconsistent. And I'm still like just laughing at like Justin's draft. The fact that like he drafted 2 doubles. He drafted I don't even know what
Sutton and
Cortland
Jerry
Sutton
Jeudy.
and Jared Judy. He also drafted MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster. So like, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And like Kansas City's wide receivers aren't like, you don't have Tyreek Hill there, so like there's not a clear guy. And like, I mean, any given week somebody can score points. Like Skylar Moore, who's horrendous, could like go off for a week. And like the only person you can really trust is Mahomes and Kelsey at this point for that team.
Yeah.
And I didn't put him on the list because he's been injured, but Julio Jones might be the worst pick of the draft. Drafted Julio Jones like early and just refused to drop him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously Justin. What's that?
Yeah, I was just saying, and I think another like bust of the draft as well is a kicker named Cade York. Not for fantasy, but for like reality. Like, that guy sucks. Yeah, I don't know. And like, then you have to like go and buy a jersey. Like,
they sell Cade York jerseys
in China. They do.
Yeah, man, and it's like it's like he always gets like a jersey like Baker and Beckham Jr. It's like he's got such a high success rate on jerseys. I can't believe that this year is the reason that they've lost like 2 games and do.
Yeah.
So anybody in the West then as far as you think obviously everyone sucks like all the East boys, but anybody in particular out of that division that you think has a true chance to take home the trophy this year?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, Bill is in 4th, but I mean, I really like his team, like Tua, not just because I'm a Dolphin stan, but like when he plays and isn't going Scary Movie 2 on us, he's been putting up some good numbers. And then he's got ETN, who's obviously the clear lead back now. Jonathan Taylor, like, that's going to be a solid 1-2. And then Jefferson, Godwin, Waddle. So like, he's got the combo with Tua as well. So I like Bill's team a lot. I don't understand how Mitchell's even won a game at this point, but he's your division leader, which is crazy. So like, if I was in the championship, I would love to play Mitchell. You can timestamp this, whatever, and we both make it there. Then I'll probably end up losing. But yeah, I don't understand how that's kind of transpired. And then like your team, Matt, is really good. Obviously, I mean, Josh Allen, if he gets you 25 plus a week. You got Dameon Pierce, which I have in another league, is just like the steal of the draft. Like, he's just been going bananas. And then as soon as like Kamara kind of goes back to normal form, CJ or Lamb, like, your team's solid. Like, the only thing that sucks, I think, is like trying to figure out, like, I have Gabriel Davis as well. It's like, it's tough because like he's got weeks where he does nothing, and you're like, as soon as you bench him, he's gonna fucking put up 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. You're like, I can't bench him again. But then he just like does nothing again.
Famine.
Yeah. But
Matt, any questions? I got
Yeah, I got
probably a few more.
a couple.
Yeah, go ahead. You jump in.
So there's some owners around the league that have been complaining about the weekly polls, and I just wanted to let you know that I did find a website that has hundreds of just different questions you can ask. It has a whole bunch of answers you can choose from. Didn't want to make this
yeah,
too hard for you. Just wanted to just right here put it right up on the screen for you for right now. You can check it out. I'll send it to you personally.
polls. Okay. Yeah, it's just
So
it's tough because like we've been doing polls for a few years now, and you can only ask what the best potluck food is so many times before you're just like, what the hell are we doing here? So
well,
I got a little flack for not posting a poll last week, but like I
this
already
is
know it's
not
gonna come
just a
in
little
2 weeks. It's gonna be like, what's the best Friendsgiving dish? Like we've done this so many times. Like I can only ask people what they like in potlucks like once or twice.
there's a bunch of different questions. They're all kind of, kind of off the wall questions, stuff like that. But my
Cool.
next question is, so what would be your biggest regret of this season so far? And I'm just hypothetically like the schedule or, something along those lines of
Yeah,
what
you
would be your
know like
biggest regret?
like I'm not in the committee, I'm not the commissioner, I'm not anybody. So for me to be the one that's doing all these things, and it's a thankless job. Like the rivalries, they were there last year, the same rivalries we had last year. They never got fixed or ironed out or anything like that. So I'm just posting what's there. I'm just moving literally a schedule. I'm just moving week 2 to week 10. And then next time it's week 2 to week 10. So like there's nothing really crazy happening. Um with that. But yeah, I'm the one that's kind of the scapegoat, doing it for free and just as
Now,
a
now
good
would you
human.
say that is your biggest regret, or what would be your biggest regret of the season so far?
My biggest regret is probably getting here on time tonight because you had to go pick up a pizza 4 minutes before the show started. So wasn't happy about that. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have too many regrets so far. Maybe not. I probably shouldn't have drafted Deshaun Watson to pick up Heineke, especially last week, because now Bill isn't going to drop him. So kind of cucked myself there. But yeah, I mean, all like scheduling, like home field advantage, rivalries, like I don't give a shit whatsoever. So it's just kind of like white noise in the back of my ear. So I'm
Yeah,
doing
I'm
it.
just I'm just
Yeah,
busting your balls because I honestly, to me, it doesn't matter. I think
yeah,
anytime I'm playing in the West, it's just going to be a hard game anyway. So I mean,
yeah,
really, at the end of the day, it shouldn't really matter, especially since
yeah. I mean, the West has got such juggernauts with Mitchell playing half his team and still winning every week. Like, God forbid, like we could have a situation like that. I mean, I gave Eddie a win last week. Like, that's the same scenario. Like, I don't know how you guys lose to Mitchell. Is more like I don't know. Like that should be your guys' biggest regret is letting that happen.
well, it's
yeah,
probably
that is up
you've,
there.
you've taken all of the responsibilities as the commissioner, so now he has time to look at his team for once, and then maybe that's that. But maybe suggestion for next year would be submit like a text to Walt or to Mitchell or whoever, and just I think my rival is this person. If it's a matchup, it's easy enough. You put it down and you say, okay, Matt picked this person and this person picked Matt. There's not like a for sure matchup. You just kind of go from there and say, I don't know, something like that. Because I don't know how the rivals got picked initially. It seems like
Yeah,
maybe a revamp of that would be kind of fun or something like that. So, or
yeah.
maybe we even just
It's
do
kind of
something.
funny. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's kind of funny too. Like Carter and Bill were like, we don't know how we're rivals, and yet they just talk shit to each other literally all day long.
I know
Like
that it is.
it's just nonstop. It's like I don't understand. Like I don't have anything against Bill. Like, but yet you're just talking shit
Yeah.
about him all day. And same with Bill to Carter. But like, yeah, like new divisions next year will be exciting. Um, we might just swap Logan for Bill. I think that would be a good swap. Keep everything else the same, and I think that it'd be kind of funny. Um, but yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the rivals right now. Like, yeah, J Mac and Mac both have Mac in their name, so like that makes sense, I guess. Josiah and Teddy, like those guys hate each other. Logan and Kyle. Yeah, so a lot of good matchups.
Who's my rival? Is it you?
Yeah.
Yeah, such a big rivalry there.
But one thing I did want to mention as well is, so like we're obviously I think, is it week 8 now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this week is kind of like the pivotal moment where you've already played everybody once in your division. So now you have to like really start paying attention to like your head-to-heads, because that's going to obviously come into play once it comes to like the seeding and playoffs and all those scenarios. Because like obviously lost to Logan right now, week 2 or whatever. I have him this week. So if I don't beat him this week, like unless I can have a better record than him overall, like I'm automatically going to be seated under him in some way. So just
important.
Keep an eye out. But
Well, that's anything else? Because that's a good segue into our weekly matchups here.
no, I get a big trade in the works right now, so I'm just hoping that pans through. I've been looking at my texts nonstop to see if we got an approval message. So
if it's Bill or Logan, probably not. They probably just for like 24 hours and then trade him for somebody. But
yeah, it's not him. I'd say it's somebody that's somewhat desperate, though. You know, like
I got a feeling I know who it is.
Yeah,
I've been texting with that same person, but if it is the person, I'll just say one thing, and I'll give a big compliment to Kyle. If it is Kyle, one thing I love trading with Kyle is he is very blunt, just like everything else in life. So like when he's on the field, he goes, like, there's no way I'll trade with you. I don't know you in like how I can make this work for each other. Okay, at least. But,
yeah, I was FaceTiming him for the first like 20 minutes of the show, just trying to get a deal worked out, have a big fucking breaking news scenario like happen on here, get called Schefter a bunch, like that would be pretty epic. He just texted me, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. But the trade that I offered him was he wanted to do Cup for Saquon, and then I also had to like trade him like 2 other players, which was like I just can't do that. And like there's nobody else on your team that would really want. So the trade that we were gonna do was Saquon for Dalvin Cook and Devontae Smith. Gives him 2 starters. I lose 2 starters on my team, but get Saquon out of it, who's obviously top 2 back this year. So wasn't he was thinking about it for an hour or so, but just text me he can't do it. So
I tried with him this morning as well for Saquon, and it just didn't work out. So
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of glad too, because
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm kind of glad too, because I would be losing another wide receiver as well, and like my wide receiver depth is like absolute shit right now. So like I don't have a backup wide receiver to take his place, so I'd have to pick somebody off free agency right now, which would suck.
All right, our week 8 matchups. First off, we got Teams Browns versus me. I like that game. I'm hoping I got a couple of things in the works right now. I'm hoping to pull off here, but I think I'm going to be able to get Teddy, move myself up here into the middle of the pack here. After that, we got Carter versus Justin. Sure, that's going to be a real nail biter. And then we got Walt versus Logan. How do you feel about that one, Walt?
I don't feel too good. I just picked up the Browns. Is it Harrison Bryant? One of the backups, the tight end that just replaced Njoku. So I'm hoping Brissett just feeds the tight ends like he has been. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game. I mean, we're both projected triple digits. Are my scores? I wasn't sure if it showed 0. Yeah, I'm projected 0 right now. So this screenshot was from the other day, but
yeah, this was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday grab.
Yeah, just the average. Just you can't have that many roster spots on your team. Like, okay, whatever. But
yeah,
Logan.
Yeah, I think it's 118 to 107 right now. But what was that, Matt?
I said Logan always late to the party about like the whole like, wait, Walt can't do this. It's like, yeah, we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Next up, we have my shit's frozen. Eddie versus Josiah. That seems like a pretty easy win. And then we
Yeah.
got Bill
Yeah.
versus Kyle.
Kansas City bye could cost Josiah. I mean, his team has no depth whatsoever. Worst tandem of wide receivers I've ever seen. So who knows? I mean, Eddie could win.
Someone sent a screenshot of Eddie's team this week.
Yeah, it
It's
was
not
me.
looking good.
Eddie's equally as pathetic. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
Like,
not looking.
he's
not
playing.
looking
He's
very
got
good.
Jamal Williams or whatever is Williams for Detroit, and Swift's going to be starting. So like, he's going to pick
Yeah.
up scraps there. Yeah, just
He-
a gross team. Just all around gross.
I'm pretty sure he has
He's got Michael Carter on his bench.
got
I don't
Michael
know why
Carter
he's on
who's
his
going to
bench.
be getting those carries.
Yeah, just poor management.
At least he has that going for him. But next is our game of the week. Moose versus Russell. This is going to be the deciding factor here. Mitchell could be pulling ahead and really taking the West by storm here, or Moose could turn around and tie it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying I saw Russ was doing high knees on the plane today, when everybody was sleeping on their way to London. So you gotta be a little cautious of that. I mean, 4 hours of high knees when everybody's sleeping on a midday flight to London's gotta get you a little psyched for that Jacksonville game early.
Heard
in
he
the
was
morning.
running sprints up and down the plane.
Yeah. I went ahead and dropped the Bears defense this morning and picked up the Jags. So that would be the big London game is defense against Russell Wilson, who Mitchell has. I got a few lineup decisions I have to make as far as receiver and second running back. But yeah, to your point, I believe I beat Mitchell the first time. I'll double check right now as we're talking. But if that's the truth, then that means if I can this time, I'll have that tiebreak. Yeah, I could really use this win.
And I'll just throw this out there too. Like Mitchell, Andy Dalton is the starter. If you pay attention to anything, you pay attention to this podcast, you will know to bench Jameis Winston. I know it says 19 points in the screenshot, and maybe you don't listen to anything anybody says, but look at your lineup, please.
Well, hey, the key is he doesn't make the London game, so maybe Wilson will be ruled out, and I'll get the 0 points. But hey, that's also been he's been able to win like that, so maybe that's his strategy is he plays one injured player a week, and he's made a deal with the devil.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, it seems like he's all moved in and he just gave up on fantasy football.
Yeah,
Very weird.
he's too
But,
decorated.
Has he gotten into that?
Maybe, I don't know.
He's got a bunch of spooky season signs in the background of his place and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pumpkin carvings going on Thursdays at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So with last week, Bill going down, we both get a win there. I moved to 2 and 3. God damn, it's tough. You moved to 4 and 1. But who are we gonna take as our picks? I'm sorry. Moose, I'm taking you.
Okay.
You gotta take Matt. I mean,
I don't like that. I almost want to pick against myself now. I don't want all three to be on the same page because that means I'm probably gonna fucking lose. But yeah, I'm gonna take myself. But I'm Shallon back in my lineup and Fields can replicate what he did against the Patriots. But yeah, I'll take myself. Cross my fingers.
So we moved to 2 and 3. And so then across the board, Bill takes the loss there. And then Walt will be up there next week. I'm starting to run out of space, so I'm just going to slowly start knocking people off.
Logan never got a pick in?
Yes. No, it's
No,
connection.
Logan
Good enough.
Logan didn't have connection.
Go
He
figure.
was supposed
In
to be
his
on one
dungeon.
episode and he didn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. Is like he just sent a terrible trade the other day. Like I'm wondering if he's updating a spreadsheet like every single week to like know like when injuries happen. Like that's just gonna be like the biggest pain in the ass process in the world. Or if he's still going off like week 2 projections and stuff like that. So like I think he offered somebody that was hurt to Eddie or somebody like that, and just like it's like, oh well, my projection said week 7 he was going to put up this many points, even though he's on IR. But
If my guess, it's somewhere in the updates some of them, but not all of them. And then he gets this very sheet that's like, oh wait, why is ETN's stock so should be high? Like, and then it's like, okay, I forgot to update that he's now the starter. It's just
yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's tough.
we got I was gonna say
taken
we
a
got
look-
a wedding coming up here soon too. What are your chances on Josiah surviving this next one? High, low, in the middle?
That should have been a poll
Ooh.
question.
That should. Oh, I mean, that could be next week. The wedding's not for 2 or 3 weeks, I think. So it's
Tough track for him, but he's just keep on trying hopefully, and we'll see.
Yeah, it was a funny time carrying him out. I think it was me, you, and Colton were all walking out with him, and he's just chirping people, and yeah, it was a good time. He did make it pretty
Sounds
late
about right.
though, another 20 minutes, and he would have had some free pizza and might have been able to rally a bit.
Like
but.
that's why he blacked out at the very end. I saw that he only had 20 minutes and the chug wine, which I don't know if I've ever seen Josiah drink wine before. And then he was just double fisting and Carter did a few shots with him, and so he was a ticking time bomb once those shots went down.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Well, all right, boys. Great show. Good seeing you.
Thanks
See
for
you,
having me.
boys.
Peace out.
Yep.